Hello, welcome to the With Love from Liv show. My name is Liv and I love that you're here. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining me today. This episode is coming to you live on Instagram, so if you come hang out on Instagram, then I'm excited to have you here. If you're catching the replay on the podcast, then happy to have you there too. So today I wanted to come here live because I want to just talk about the missing piece from the self-love conversation, which is accountability, right? And just to preface this, I am not one of those people that is like, hey, all this self-love is selfish, it's bad, it's wrong, it's going to lead to the collapse of the society. Yes, I recently heard somebody say that. And to me, that seems a little extreme. But I will say that I do think I understand where people are growing weary of the self-love movement. And what I'm seeing from people online, from people who are posting about loving themselves, is a total lack of accountability. So when I say that, what I mean is these posts online and people who are talking about, oh, I'm loving myself, I'm taking care of myself, self-care, blah, blah, blah. They're for sure doing things that are good and they're trying to feel better. But I think that we have conflated self-love with self-soothing. And right now what I see is all of these accounts promoting self-soothing content. And so that looks like very validating posts. That looks like people coming on and saying, yes, your ex was a narcissist. You deserve to get out of that relationship. And yes, you need to cut this person off because they're not respecting your boundaries. All of these kinds of things that feel really good when you're reading them. And it feels good when you share it. And other people are like, oh yes, this is me. This is my experience. But what's missing from those posts is the part that you play in the situation that is your life. And I know that a lot of people are afraid to address that because they don't want to venture into victim blaming, and I get that. But at the same time, there has to be a greater call to self-accountability. And when it comes to actual self-love, people who are kind of against the movement are talking about it being selfish, right? I mentioned that before. And a big piece of that is that if you're only self-soothing, that does become selfish because you are so focused and entrenched on being validated in something that you have experienced that you're not able to take that experience and do something with it and serve someone else, or take that experience and go create something positive. And when you're kind of trapped and sucked into all of the self-soothing, then it does become antithetical to self-love. To just kind of put this into context, there is a quote that I heard probably 12 years ago. I actually don't remember who said it. I think it was in General Conference, but it said, man cannot truly love himself until he loves God, and man cannot truly love God unless he loves himself. Okay? That is so profound and that is so beautiful, and it goes hand in hand with the first two commandments, right? Love God and love your neighbor as yourself. And in that kind of context, and when you think about that, can self-love truly be selfish? No, it can't, because it is a key component of loving other people and loving the Lord, right? But there is a difference between self-soothing and actual self-acceptance. And the difference between soothing and accepting is acceptance by nature requires a level of responsibility, a level of accountability for yourself, for your thoughts, for your beliefs. And only when you step into the actual accountability portion of self-acceptance can you love yourself, and can you then turn around and take that love and share it with other people, right? Self-love is the catalyst for peaceful societies. Self-love is the catalyst for compassion, for people taking care of each other. Because I think for a long time we promoted this idea of self-sacrifice, and people have shifted away from that. I personally don't believe in self-sacrifice. I don't think that it's necessary. I think that's the purpose of the Savior. And in the shift away from, okay, I don't have to give so much to other people hoping that they'll give back to me. I can actually pour into my cup first, and then from the overflow, I can share that with other people, right? That's the whole concept. But when you're in the space of self-soothing, of just being validated, of just having people say, hey, it's okay that you have feelings. Hey, it's okay that you went through this situation. Hey, it's not your fault. There's value in that. Absolutely. I don't dispute that. But it will only serve you as far as you are willing to take responsibility and make changes in your life. That doesn't mean that if you're accountable, if you're responsible for yourself and your outcomes, that you are now taking responsibility for someone else. Someone else very well may have wronged you. That happens all the time, and it's tragic. And what you do afterwards is your accountability. That is your responsibility. And I see this whole shift in blame. I see so many people who, sure, it's probably the first time that they've ever really felt validated, and all they can do is externalize. And that's what all of the self-soothing kind of turns into, and that's where it becomes ultimately destructive. Because if all you can do is externalize, if you can only feel good because people on the internet are telling you it's okay to feel good, then you're not healing, you're not getting better, and nothing's going to change for you. If you sincerely want things to change, then you have to be willing to accept what happened. You have to be willing to accept that there are things and people and situations beyond your control, and that you can still move forward. You can still alchemize your experience. And when I see this conversation online, and when I see these accounts that I truly think have good motives, I truly think that they are intending to help people feel better, I have to look at it in kind of a broader scope, because as a dating coach, I oftentimes have clients who come to me and they say, hey, can you help me because therapy didn't work? Can you help me because I feel a lot of validation from therapy accounts or from other people or from, whoever, but I still feel crappy. So what gives? How do I actually feel better? And this is something that I have talked about in regards to healing posts, quote unquote. I see that people are so tuned in and wrapped up in what it means to heal that people can't actually heal, because it's keeping you stuck in the situation that you are looking for healing from. And if you can't ever move on, if you can't ever take what happened to you and do something with it and get yourself out of it and use it to help somebody else, then you're not healed. You're not healing and you're not moving on. You are becoming trapped and you are becoming stuck into that circumstance. And getting out of it is an act of accountability. It is an act of responsibility for yourself to say, hey, here's what happened to me. I can accept it. And I choose what I do next. That is such a huge piece of what honestly helped me when I very first started on the quote unquote healing journey. I had some horrible experiences, and I'm not going to get into them today because I have talked about them, and I don't feel like I need to, but ultimately my business was born because I went through bad experiences. My business was born in the middle of a breakup and a job loss. And instead of sitting there and feeling sorry for myself, I sought out validation. I sought out the tools to comprehend and process what happened to me. And then I went out and I built a business so that I could do something productive with what I experienced. And you can do that too. Not that you have to go out and start a business, but until you are able to take action, until you are actually doing something with the experience, then it's going to remain with you and you're going to stay stuck inside it. And that's why I see so many people who feel like they haven't been able to move on and they haven't been able to fully love themselves or fully process things that they have gone to, because all they're getting is validation. They're not getting the tools or the call to action to do something with the experience. And that's something that we learn we can do through the power of Christ, right? We know that Jesus turned water into wine. And that concept is something that you can use for the painful experiences of your life. I actually very much believe that that is an underrated and underspoken aspect of the atonement, is that you can literally take something horrible that happened to you and you can turn it into something wonderful. I took these horrible things that happened to me several years ago and I built a business that has changed and transformed my entire life. And not only has it transformed my entire life, but it continues to serve and support other people who are struggling like I was struggling. And only because I was able to say, okay, these things happened to me, that doesn't make them my fault, but I can see what I can do next. I can see maybe a role that I played in the circumstances. I can see mindsets or belief systems that kept me trapped in those or prevented me from steering away from the situation altogether. And when I started stepping into what I could do, then I started to heal. I actually started to not be hurt by those things anymore. I actually started to forgive and to let these things go because I wasn't just dwelling on them. And I think that rumination is such a sneaky culprit that keeps people down and it keeps people stuck. And because everyone and their mom are posting about healing and, sharing these validating posts, then all it's doing is causing rumination. And rumination, if you need a little definition, is just to dwell endlessly on something, right? If you're ruminating on something, then it becomes this all-consuming thought. And if everything that you're consuming is, hey, you're valid in this situation, then that's great up to a point. It's great until you need the next step, and there is a next step, and that's the action that you take. And so if nobody is calling you to action and all of the accounts are just there to validate you, then they're self-soothing. Okay, I'm echoing myself now, but they're self-soothing. That's what they're doing. They're not helping you love yourself. If you are not being compelled to action, you are not participating in self-love. You are sitting in self-soothing. And I need to make that distinction. I need to make that very, very clear so that you can actually feel better, so that you can actually start to love yourself. Because no matter how many baths you take and how many posts you share and how many videos you watch about how great you are, you won't feel better until you take your experience and you do something with it. Okay, this is also a very physical thing, which I also find missing in this conversation and in Insta therapy and honestly in talk therapy in general, is that there isn't a lot of incorporation of the body. And the body is one of your main sources for how you feel, right? And so if you're sitting there being emotionally and mentally validated in your experience, then you also can't move on because you're not releasing it from your body. And if it's living inside your body, then it's going to impact how you feel. And that's a lot of why people get stuck in their feelings and stuck in their experiences, because they aren't incorporating their body. They aren't physically moving that experience outside of them and taking it and doing something productive with it. And this can look a lot of different ways. This can look like EMDR, it can look like massages, it can look like, all kinds of things. But when it comes down to it, if you're truly going to get past something, if you are truly going to love yourself, you have to feel that in your mind, in your body, and in your spirit. And if your source for self-love is only one of those components, you're not getting a full healing experience and you are not going to feel the love, right? Just like for a partner, just like for a parent or a sibling, love is an action that you have to take every single day. It's a choice that you have to make over and over and over again. And when it comes to loving you, yes, you have to choose that over and over and over again, but you are blocking yourself from being able to do that when you're ruminating in the very thing you're trying to heal from, when all you're doing is getting validation about it. It is not helping you, and I am here to tell you that it is time to move on. It is time to take action. It is time to do something with the experience. And yes, that is easier said than done. It is very hard to take something difficult that you've gone through and do something with it. Okay, I'm not saying that it's going to be easy, but I'm saying that you have to. And if you don't do something with the experience, you're going to hold it inside you and it's going to keep impacting you forever. Okay? So, yes, I am all about the self-love. I want you to love yourself. And it's different than self-soothing. You have to get out of self-soothing and actually start to do something. Okay? That's such a huge and underrated principle. And I think that a lot of why people shy away from sharing that and talking about that is because they don't want to be salesy. But guess what? Like, your method doesn't have to be a program. It doesn't have to be, working with a coach. Although coaches, in my experience, are very helpful resources in taking that experience and knowing what you can do with it. But ultimately, you can't heal alone. Okay, we all know that. And so stop trying to do it by yourself through Instagram pages, through TikTok therapy, because you're not actually being able to apply those things and work through them in the mind, body, spirit connection, and in a very literal way that applies specifically to you, okay? That's why I became a dating coach, because I could see that so many people couldn't get themselves to the next step, let alone the next levels of living and experiencing life, because nobody's telling them how to take action. Nobody's being bold and saying, okay, guess what? What you went through, that sucks. And I'm sorry. And what are you going to do about it? Right? We're like very anti that in our culture right now for some reason. And it's not helping. And if you truly want to feel better, it's time to take some action. It's time to do something with it. Okay? If you are watching this and listening and this is resonating with you, I can let you know that I do have one space for 3 months of one-on-one coaching where we will get through whatever it is that you're trying to get through. We can take your experience and we can turn it into something that serves you. And I know how to do it because I do it all the time with my clients. I've done it for myself, and I know how frustrating it can be to just have people tell you to feel better all the time, or to have them justify, what you went through without the actual tools or steps that are next. I want to give you your next step. I want to give you the next 10 steps. I want to show you how good life can feel when we're not trapped in everybody just feeling crappy all the time. Like, I don't know about you, but I really feel like that's kind of the overarching theme of social media lately is we're all sad. We're all disturbed. We all have ADHD. We all blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, stop. Enough. You can feel better. You can feel really good. Like the majority of the time. You can feel awesome. You can feel confident. You can love your life. And you can get really incredible opportunities and blessings. And life can be unrecognizable. But you've got to do something first. You've got to take the next step. You've got to incorporate accountability. Okay? I'm offering to help you do that. If I'm not the coach for you, great. Find someone who can give you action steps, because that's how you move on. That's how you feel better. That's how you love yourself. And that's what I care about. I want you to feel loved. I want you to experience all that life has to offer and more. My objective of my business, of both of my businesses, is to show you how to create heaven on earth. And that's how I live every day. I am over here loving my life most of the time. I am not sad. I am not out there, just sitting in my misery. I'm action-based. I'm doing stuff all the time, and I feel really good because of it. You can feel that too. It's okay to be happy. It's okay to be optimistic. It's okay to let your pain go. You don't have to identify in it. And I want to help you move on. Okay? Whether that is through coaching or you're just following this channel, that is my objective. I know that it's possible for you, and I love you. I will talk to you later.